Whenever I first make a dark trap beat, I'm usually starting off with a piano, and for this I'm just getting a piano from Keyscape. For this sample I'm going to be in D sharp minor, and again, just like with every single dark trap beat I make, I'm going to rely on a lot of half steps. For these, you don't need to go too crazy with the bass or adding a crazy melody. It's all about just creating a very simple ambience. For all the effects, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be routing them all to one channel. So as you can see here, I'll do it from scratch. All I'm doing is I'm putting this piano to the first mixer track. Then I'm going to the channel I want to put it in, which is FX to channel number 5. I'm right clicking here and I'm going route to this track only. I'm doing this for every other mixer track to make sure that it sounds really cohesive. Next, I'm getting a really simple bell. For this melody, again, I'm really just going up the scale. You can see going D sharp, F to F sharp, and then I'm just walking down the scale, A sharp, G sharp, F sharp, F, D sharp. Again, since we're in the minor scale, we're going to really emphasize these half steps, and doing something like this will make that really easy. Then I'm just getting a really simple flute one shot, and then I'm going to the effects channel. What I'm first adding is I'm doing a parametric EQ to cut out the bass, because this is going to be playing during when all the drums are going, and I don't want too much bass in that so that the 808 can stick out. Then I'm getting murder melodies, and all I'm doing is I'm bringing up this clarity, and that's just really boosting the highs. It's really not doing too much. Then I'm pulling out another EQ, again just getting rid of the low mids and the bass to clear some room for the drums. And then I'm adding a reverb with the low cut brought up, and I'm making sure it's a pretty short decay. I don't want anything crazy because I don't want it to be too muddy. Then I'm just putting it all together. What I'm about to show you is how you really get the sauce going for these type of beats. First, what I'm doing is I'm just taking the sample that I already have, bouncing it out, and then I'm reversing it. Next, I'm pitching it up an entire octave, and then I'm routing it to track 14. On this track, all I'm really doing is I'm putting on murder melodies, bringing up the clarity, which would give it a bunch of highs. Then I'm pitching it up 2 semitones because I just don't like the sound of it being in D sharp minor right now. Then I'm using a really simple EQ to cut out the lows and the highs, just to give it a little more space for drums. Then I take that exact same thing, I bounce it out again, and then I'm going to pitch it over and put it over to track 15. All I did to get it was I just half-timed it, and then again I brought up the clarity a bunch to give it a little more highs, and then I go to the EQ and basically do the exact same thing. Here's what those 2 samples sound like. As you can see from that, I essentially have 3 different samples. This will give a ton of variety throughout the entire beat, so you don't have to do anything too crazy with the drums. But then for the drums, I'm just using a Spins 808. I'm doing a really simple pattern. And make sure for the 808 you're coming here, you're coming into basically the audio file, normalize it, and then make sure to boost it at least 1%, and make sure you have the clip turned on, and this will just make that 808 knock. Then for the hi-hats, you don't want to do anything too crazy with rolls, and you also want to leave some spaces to give it some bounce. As you can see on this 4th bar, I'm leaving a space right here. This is just going to give it a little more bounce. Then it's also very important for these dark trap beats is make sure that you're really using snares, and I would really try to stay away from claps unless it really fits the beat. Adding these snares is just going to give it a lot more oomph, and it's going to give it a lot more darker feel. And you can also see here for some of the in-between notes, I'm pitching it down an octave just to give it a little more bounce and variety. But then I'm getting an open hat, and I'm just turning up the out knob because I want it to end a little bit shorter, because you don't want your open hats dragging out too long because it'll kind of kill the bounce of your entire beat. I'm also pitching it down a bunch, and this is just to give it a little more oomph and a little more distortion. Then of course I'm adding a triangle. And then I'm getting into some mixing. Mixing your beats does not have to be hard. As you can see on all these drum sounds, I'm basically not putting any effects. If you have good sound selection, you don't need to add any effects. You don't need to do anything crazy except really level the beat. For my process, usually I just cut out everything and I'm really just going by the drums one by one. Then I'm slowly adding other ones in to mix it. about trusting your ear, watch some tutorials on it, but really after you make enough beats, you're just going to get a general good ear of what a good beat sounds like when it's mixed properly. I generally like to keep my 808s around -3 dB and the same for the kick, then snares can go between -6, -9, hi-hats maybe -12, and the rest of the stuff I'm just playing it probably a little bit below -15 or around that range. Then I'm really just laying out the beat. All I'm doing is I'm having the very first sample I made with basically no effects on it play out at the start so that there's a lot of contrast whenever the beat drops. I also love doing these unique drops into the beat, so as you can see here, what it would typically be is I have everything like this, and all I'm doing is I'm making the hi-hat start 2 beats behind it, basically losing the first bar of snares and making sure that the kick is also coming at the same time as that hi-hat. So you can hear the difference between when I do it versus when I don't. It's going to add a ton more bounce, and it's really going to allow your beats to differentiate it from other people who are making the same kinds of beats. But that's going to be the beat. I appreciate y'all watching. Make sure to check out my other videos, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.